Salute to you all. The brave never fall. Self-love through freedom and connection. So feel free to connect to the brave never fall on these social media platforms. If you find anything of value in this following podcast, hit that like button, subscribe and share, and support the Brave and Bold tribe, growing one purposeful soul at a time. There are no coincidences in life. The strength you have is real. Each breath you take is a blessing. Don't give up, give more. Believe in yourself and trust yourself. How are you feeling? Take a moment to do a self-check-in for yourself. How are you feeling mentally? How are you feeling emotionally? How are you feeling physically? How are you feeling spiritually? Are you feeling balanced? Are you still journeying on an intentional, purposeful path? How are you feeling? Balancing yourself is a healthy daily practice that will reliably keep you in harmony with your entire mind, body, heart, and soul. Clear your mind. Take a moment of silence for yourself right now in the moment. You are here now. How are you feeling? We are all problem solvers, each with our own unique ways of solving the puzzle. And that puzzle can be the puzzle to life, the puzzle to a career, to an education, to a spiritual experience, to a relationship, to the smallest task, to the biggest task that we have throughout the day. Every single moment of your day is a puzzle, if you want to look at it that way. There are some who look at life in a different way, but take the definition of a puzzle and break it down to smaller components, and it's really just a series of moments that are bound together and set to memory in our own personal minds, and we have our own experiences. Two people can look at the exact same experience and walk away with two different perspectives on that particular experience, because it's about who we are and what we bring to the table and how we interact with others and the environment and the things and the places we visit. All of these things have a part to play in our everyday life, in our everyday moments. Each moment, there's something happening that is connecting the dots from the moment before to the moment next. And in the moment, whatever the dot or the puzzle is, we're connecting it together. We're making something that we can look back at and say, there was the big picture all along. I just didn't know it at the time. These are things we don't think about in the moment. We tend to look at the past and we think about it that way, and we try to piece together the future and we think about it that way, but we don't think about all the little things that are happening in the few hours, a few minutes, the few days of our lives. The moments that are connected that we can actually control and shift right now. And we are all doing that regardless if we even are aware of it. And that is what makes having ingenuity something very special for a human being. Ingenuity, the quality of being clever, original, and inventive. Aptness of design or contrivance, skill in devising or combining. Navigating the journey of our lives is always an unknown adventure. The path forward is not guaranteed to be seen at all times. There is no visible path on the open sea, yet there is always a path to any location. We just need the tools and the trust in those tools and ourselves to navigate those seas. Even with those tools and trust, unexpected situations can and inevitably will occur. And improvisation, creativity, and skill will be desperately needed to secure a positive outcome. Being able to adapt to any situation by detaching and analyzing is the skill of natural leaders and those who stay level-headed during times of duress and stress, when the path is not easily seen or even understood. Back to the blueprint of life it is. Our blueprints of ourselves, our morals, principles, and boundaries can shift based on our experiences. We may lose confidence in one area and gain confidence in another area. Course correcting, balancing out, and recreating the blueprint is often necessary in life. To reinforce our core values and live strongly by them grants us the confidence we need to be creative in life, adapt to situations, improvise when we're called to be flexible. Rigid and hard branches are more likely to break in a storm, when flexible and softer branches are more likely to withstand the storm. Anything can happen at any moment. Prepared or unprepared, these moments can and will happen. We will be called to accept the unexpected, do something we never thought we would or could do, interact with those we may fundamentally disagree with. So we must adapt accordingly. We must use all of our mind, body, heart, and soul to secure the most productive, purposeful, and positive outcomes possible. Cincinnatus, Episode 5, Ingenuity. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. And I'm sure anyone listening to this has had that happen to them, where we've caught ourselves doing something over and over and over again and expecting a different result. Does that make us insane? Or does it just make us more aware? Does it make it more aware of our flaws and things we need to work on and where we really are in our life versus where we've been and where we could possibly go? And how creative are we in creating moments for ourselves that are impactful to our lives, and we can be an influence and a leader to others who look up to us and we are obligated to interact with and take care of? All of these things are things that equal ingenuity. That's a word you don't hear a lot, especially when it comes to growth and moving forward on your journey. Because we can look at life as a rigid force. As I said in the opener, if there's a storm and there's a very old tree that's really dried up and has really, really hard, brittle branches, the wind is going to snap those things. Then you have a young tree that's had plenty of water and it's well kept and it's in the right location. The wind is coming and blowing, the storm's blowing right over it. The branches are bending, they're adapting. It's almost as if the tree was being creative in a way to withstand the storm. It knew it had to do something differently to get through it. Now, obviously, a tree is not making these decisions, but that's where we come in. We can make the decisions. We can say, okay, I'm feeling like I have hard branches. I want some branches with flexibility. Unlike the tree, we have a choice. We have a choice. Are we exercising that right? That's a birthright. Are we exercising it? Or are we being insane doing the same thing over and over and over again? We're standing there with hard, brittle branches and we're expecting them not to break when a storm is upon us. Not only that, we saw the storm coming. Nothing we can do about it because we didn't do the work before. Take the opportunities that you have and reinforce them with something that's flexible. And that's something that I have really worked on, because I might be one of the most rigid people you could meet when I was younger. And some people still may think I'm really rigid when it comes to it, but I think people get rigid and discipline mixed up. Because you look at someone who has really good discipline, you can see that this person may be very disciplined about something that is extremely positive and healthy. Take David Goggins. He was the one who got me running marathons in the first place. If you don't know, I am a marathon runner, and running is my safe place. It's the place I like to go when I want to clear my head, and it's almost like my meditation zone. I do the best meditating when I'm running. And you take someone like David Goggins. If you don't know who he is, I won't get to it here. Google him. You'll find out exactly what you need to know. But he's a extreme athlete. Born that way. Didn't even realize he was born that way until he was halfway through his life. And he's doing things at a later age that he thought he never could do when he was younger. But he had to be super disciplined about it. He was a Navy SEAL. He went through 3 hell weeks. 3 hell weeks. If you don't know what hell week is in the Navy SEALs, look that up. He went through 3 of them. Most Navy SEALs can't endure 1. He went through 3 and passed. And it's crazy when you think about it. But that level of discipline is a turnoff to other people. If you go to David Goggins' Instagram, you'll see what I'm talking about. You go down to his comments, and he'll post a 1-minute video. In the comments, everyone's like, "You're crazy. You're this. You're that. You're too disciplined. You're nuts." You know, my husband is doing this now, and now he's like, he's a robot. And the thing is, discipline is great. It is great. But we can take discipline too far. I'm not saying that there's anybody's right to say it's going too far for them. Who has the right to tell David Goggins that he can't live his life as disciplined as he wants to? Jocko Willink is another one. Cameron Haynes is another one. These are very disciplined people. And they've been doing it for a very long time. And when you think about what it takes to be this way, this is not the only thing that these people do. They also do other things. They're not disciplined just about one area of their life. They're disciplined in every area of their life. Cameron Haynes is a ultramarathon runner. He's also a world-class hunter. David Goggins is an ultramarathon runner. He also was a Navy SEAL. Jocko Willink was also a Navy SEAL. He's also a world-class podcaster. You look at someone like Jordan Peterson. He's a professor, but he's also a world-class teacher. These people, and a philosopher, if you want to think about it, these people are disciplined in every area of their life. Are they perfect? Absolutely not. And I think that's where the ingenuity comes in. Because although I'm not putting myself in that class, but I am super disciplined, and I pride myself on being flexible with that discipline. I know I can't be David Goggins level discipline or Jocko Willing, Jordan Peterson, Cameron Haynes. I can't be that level because that works for them. That doesn't work for me and the people around me. We also have to understand the people we have around us, the people we have obligations to. What's our lifestyle? I could be super disciplined about eating nothing but apples every day for the rest of my life and don't want to do anything else. That doesn't really help my family. We have to adapt and evolve and be creative about how we not only stay in our discipline, but how flexible can we be in other areas of our life so we can keep that discipline as well as we can keep it, but also be flexible enough to be present for others when they need us to be. Now, these are questions that are for individuals. This is not something you teach someone. This is just a question. Ingenuity. How creative are you in your life with adapting to situations and problems and relationships? This is a question. I could have easily put a question mark at the end of this title because I don't know the answer to this thing. I want to know, just like you want to know, how do we become more creative and free when it comes to adapting to everyday moments? And if that's the case, how can we start implementing these things right now? Because remember, doing the same thing over and over and over again basically makes you insane. That's what the quote says anyway. I have found the more flexible and creative I can be throughout my day, the better. Because there are going to be times where I look at things and I say, okay, this needs to go this way today. But I know the probability of everything going exactly the way I want it to today is really, really questionable. I have to put it in my head beforehand that I may need to adapt to other situations. And I got to know when to say, okay, I can do this, and when to say, no, I can't, depending on who, what, or where the situation is going to take place. That is one thing that has gotten me through every job I've been in, is that I've never gone to any job saying, I'm going to be rigid, I'm only going to do it like this. I've always been flexible, and it's served me well. I've rose up the professional ranks in every job that I've had because of that flexibility, because of that creativity, because I am always thinking, okay, at any moment something can happen, and I need to be able to quickly invent a way to get through the situation and do it at a high level, as if I had been doing it 1,000 times and I was disciplined about the very thing that I'm changing. And that's a mindset. Not only are you flexible, but whatever you're flexing to, that is going to be done as if you had done it 1,000 times, even if it's not. You're going to say to yourself, or at least I say to myself, Michael, we got to shift course, but you're going to act like this was the course to begin with. That whatever you had in your mind that never existed, this moment is what you should have had in your mind before. You just didn't know it yet. Now execute. Sounds a bit like a robot. I have a machine mindset podcast, and I'll put a link in the description below if you want to check out that, because sometimes we have to do it, especially when we're forced to do things we may not want to do, when we don't want to do it, and where we don't want to do it, and with who we don't want to do it with. Sometimes we're called to do things and we're like, oh man, I just simply don't want to do this today. And the only way you can get through it, sometimes you have to turn yourself into a little bit of a machine. And I call it the machine mindset. And it just means turn on the super discipline area of your life that shuts out all the noise and makes you get through this thing without being rude, without being an asshole, without being negative. You're going to get through it as positive as possible, even if it sucks. Are you going to do it right every time? No. You're not. That is why it's a skill. The more you do it, the better you get at it. I've learned that it takes years to master these kind of things, not days. If you've gone from being a very undisciplined person in a certain area, and then you're trying to pick up the ball and run with it, and you want to become super disciplined, it's atrophy. It's like muscles. If you don't use them, they're just not going to work as well, even if you've done it before and you took a long break, which is why communicating effectively with people often is good for good communicators. You shouldn't go along without communicating with people and then expect to be this great communicator. You have to keep it up. It's a skill. We aren't born great communicators. We have to learn to be great communicators. People tend to forget that. We may be good communicators in our own little bubbles and our own little family members where we think yelling and shouting at each other is good communication for that particular family. And then we get out in the real world and you realize, oh, I can't talk to my boss that way. I can't talk to my spouse that way. But this is the world we live in now. Everyone has a voice. Everyone can be heard. And with that, that means if everyone has a voice and everyone can be heard, that means we can also find the resources and the tools we need to build things like Ingenuity. Because it was something that was fascinating me about it, is about wit and being clever and having fun with being flexible, especially if you can make anything a positive. And that's the thing. Making something a positive out of something that is potentially negative and borderline, something you just don't want to deal with. Because sometimes it's not great. You don't feel like being clever. You don't feel like being flexible and intuitive. And you don't want to be original and unique and try to do things. You just want to do what you did before because it worked. The problem is with that is that we do those things over and over and over again. Then we get surprised by stuff when that one thing suddenly doesn't work on this person, place, or thing. We find this a lot in relationships. Well, what worked in one relationship, you try to carry it over to a new relationship, and what happens? Doesn't work. Because you're dealing with a whole unique new person, a whole new puzzle. Those old techniques aren't going to work. And we can say the same thing about a career. If you change your career, how you talk to your prior boss in a different field is not going to work when you're working in a new field with a new boss. You have to adapt. We all have to adapt. But life is supposed to be fun, right? It's supposed to be simple. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be life-changing. It's supposed to give you purpose. So how do we turn something like the mundaneness of being disciplined? Because let's face it, sometimes discipline is super boring. Because there's levels to it. I mean, a skill means you're repeating stuff over and over and over again. But unlike doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result, we're doing something over and over and over again and expecting the same result. That's discipline. We're not doing something over and over and over again and expecting a different result, like insanity. We're doing something over and over and over again and expecting the same result, but with an extra caveat. Each time we do that thing, we're going to get a little bit better. So technically, you aren't doing the same thing when you're disciplined. You're getting better every time. That's the difference between being super disciplined and being super insane. Discipline equals growth. Insanity equals standstill or regression. And being disciplined in any area allows for the creativity because you can always return back to that boring baseline discipline where you say, okay, I can afford myself a little bit of wiggle room because I know if I screw up here, I can always just go back to this and I'll just stay on that for a little bit until I feel comfortable enough to add something else on here. Ingenuity is just that. It's just coming up with something that you don't quite know if it's going to work, but it's positive and it's no harm in trying. It doesn't mean ingenuity has nothing to do with deception. Because you can take words like we said in the opener, the quality of being clever, original and inventive is the definition of ingenuity. Some people may say you can take the clever word and add in deceitful. You're trying to play around with things. You're not being very real with it. You're taking risks. You're taking chances. Well, people, we do that every single day. We take a risk and a chance. Every time we take a drink, we could choke. Every time we eat, we could choke. We could die of food poisoning. Every time you get in your car, we could get in a car accident. Every time you get in a plane, it could crash. There's people who die in childbirth. There's people who die in their sleep without warning. Risk is everywhere. Yet we openly and willingly embrace the challenge every single day without question. So what's the difference with this? Why not say, I'm on the path, I'm super disciplined, I want to add an area in. And positivity is the difference here. We're not talking about being clever and saying, you know what, I'm going to take a huge risk today and I'm going to do this crazy thing right here. No, that's not what we're talking about here. Now, maybe that word means something differently to someone else, and it means you are taking risks and you are being a little loosey-goosey and you are getting borderline, to the danger zone there. But here, what we're talking about now is positive ingenuity. As we always do with the Brave Never Fall, we talk about positive things. We don't harbor and focus on negatives. We talk about what positives can we bring. And that means, just for me, as an example, as a runner, I do take risks. I took a risk with trying a new running style, right before a marathon. It didn't help. It was a huge risk, and I had to go back to my old running style right in the middle of it, and it did not help. But I knew for a little bit there, it felt good. And I knew in the future, after I got through another marathon, that I was going to have to change my running style. But I went ahead and took a risk mid-race just to see if that was the case, if I would feel a little different. Those are positive ones, saying, okay, well, normally when I study, I do 2 chapters. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do 3 chapters. And I'm going to, because I normally study 2 chapters a night. Now I'm going to do 3 chapters. These are positive, creative things. And you say, what's so creative about it? It's creative because you are thinking outside the box for yourself. It's all about you. We can't start comparing ourselves to everyone else. We say, well, this person does 5 chapters a night. Well, that's them. We're talking about you. Going from studying 2 chapters a night to 3 chapters a night, for example, is you having ingenuity. You're being flexible. You're thinking, I want more. And once you do that once or twice, then you're thinking, what was the big deal with the 3? Now you just learned an extra skill point. If you were playing a video game, that would be an extra skill point. You just leveled up. Learn, laugh, level up every single day. And that's what you do when you add something on each day that you probably wouldn't do. It's hard to do it every single day. No doubt about it. Especially if you're not aware and you're not making it a focal point every day to do something a little bit better. It could be the little things. They add up to big things. I know I try to do that. I try to make sure that I'm looking at the little things, and I just try to do everything like it's super disciplined without being robotic and stiff and unflexible, though. Get into a routine. Get into healthy patterns and positive patterns throughout your day. All of that stuff leads to having the room to be able to design yourself a positive day rather than sitting back and letting the day just pass you by. That's not a good feeling when you go to bed at night, and if one so chose to look back at their day, and you realize you really didn't accomplish a damn thing, minimum or otherwise. Like you didn't do anything. I've done that before. There's been plenty of times where I'm like, you didn't do anything today. Now, sometimes that's good. For our mental health, sometimes we do need days where we just shut everything down and we take a day for ourselves to get course corrected. There's nothing wrong with that. But once it gets to day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, month 1, month 2, month 3, and you look at the calendar, you say, wow, it's already May of this year. Half the year's gone and I haven't done anything. We've talked about this many a times in Brave Never Fall. That is the worst feeling I think I've ever endured in my entire life. There was a couple of years before my awakening, which actually contributed to my awakening, where I started stringing together days where I just really felt like I haven't done anything. Like they were just completely forgettable. And then there was no excuse for it. I had a son, I had a wife, I had a job, I had a house. And I would look around and say, something is missing here. And what was missing was I had nothing that contributed to my purpose the way that I wanted it to be. Outside of my son and my wife and a few little things here and there, I realized there was a lot of me that I was not allowing to shine. And this goes back to discipline, because I knew there was things about me that I used to be super disciplined about, things that I cared about, things that I loved, that I no longer did anymore. Somewhere along the line, I had lost myself into just becoming a version of myself that I thought I needed to be. And there was nothing wrong with that. I needed to be what I was at the time. And it worked, and it did. But once I got over the hump, and I'm like, if I tweak this and I change that, if I took a risk here and I took a little bit of a risk here in a positive way, I might be able to shift my life in a far better way where much more things are aligned in my life. And if I can do that, the one person in the world that I owe everything to is my son. So if I can do that, it will benefit him. It'll benefit other people. But then I realized some people, especially family members, your spouse, close friends, co-workers, they don't really want to hear that. Because a lot of people have a problem with change. And I was one of them. I struggled with change. Growth and change were two things that was very hard for me to accept when I was young, and definitely all the way through college, all the way up until really halfway through my marriage, until I was around 35 years old, 36, 37. 37 is when I just really had a big turnaround, and it just seemed like I woke up from a nightmare. Not that my life was a nightmare, but a nightmare of myself. It's all about me, and it's all about you as well. It's always about what we're doing for ourselves. And I remember knowing that if I just did a couple things here and there, it's going to be a shift. Some of the people in my life were going to be affected by it. Some would like it and some will not. And a lot of people were going to have to go. That's where I came up with the word jettison. I started thinking, that's what it looked like. It looked like me being on a plane and essentially tossing people out. And I knew what that was like because I remember people that I looked up to that I was not a good person to, and I was jettisoned. So I knew what it felt like. It's not like I've gone my whole life and haven't been jettisoned by people. This all ties in with ingenuity because I went back to the blueprint and I said, okay, what can we do here? Let's just start with one thing. Let's change one thing. And I went ahead and started with my health. I started changing the way I felt physically. I wanted more energy. I wanted to be thinner. I want to be able to keep up with my son. I want to live long for him. I want to get rid of many bad habits as possible. And that was the starting point, and I just built on from there. But a lot of it did come from being inventive and finding out ways that worked for me to make sure that I kept up with it. And that's what ingenuity is all about, because in order to do these things we want to do, we have to keep up with them. They have to become disciplined. They have to be something in our life that we want to hold on to, that we want to tackle, that we look forward to each day when we wake up and we say, this is me. If I don't do this positive thing for myself, I'm letting not only myself down, but the ones that I'm obligated to care for and show up for. And once it's instilled, then really, it's a cliche term, but really anything is possible. Growth and change. Once I accepted, okay, growth and change is possible through hard work, which equals a simple life. Things get easier the more hard work you put into things, as far as focal point goes, where you say, I'm all in on this and I'm not giving up. No matter what, I'm going to keep going. I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to do it. It's being able to recognize the good, positive things, places, and people in your life, not taking them for granted and keeping them in your life, not discarding them like trash because I'm feeling a certain way, because that's what I used to do. It was always somebody else's fault. Now I know if it's my fault. If it's my fault, I'll say it. If it's not, I'm not going to. But there's a distinction there. I find myself not having to play fault games anymore because I'm with people that I'm aligned with. There's fewer people, and I add on people along the way that I feel I'm aligned with, and they feel the same way about me. It's called mutual respect. I can't just attach myself to anybody that I'm aligned with. They have to want to attach themselves to me too. The only way that's possible is I have to be someone that I know I would want to be friends with, or be in a relationship with, or be a co-worker with. I have to be the person I would want to hang out with. And those are the things that I think I lacked And they all point towards change and growth, and how beautiful that actually is. Change and growth is absolutely beautiful. And it's something that I look forward to. And change in every way you can think of it, as long as it's positive, even when it feels like it's negative. If you give it enough time, it always seems like the positive comes out of that negative experience. No matter what negative experience you have, if you wait long enough, you have enough patience with yourself, and you give yourself enough grace, and you give yourself enough forgiveness, you will find that no matter what you go through negatively, something beautiful is going to come out of it. And that's the stuff that I like to take and I like to be inventive with, because it's like a gift. It's like an unexpected gift that you get. And you say, wow, I wasn't expecting this experience. And it changed me in a way. It sucked to go through it, or maybe it was exciting to go through it. But either way, I got a gift. I got an unexpected gift. What am I going to do with it? It's like when you find money that you didn't know you had in your jeans or your coat from the winter before. Or some lucky chance you end up making a bunch of money or something in a day that was unexpected. It's a good feeling. You feel like you don't want to waste that money. It's like you want to do something special with that money because you weren't expecting it. And that's what ingenuity is all about. It's an unexpected tool. It's an unexpected skill that you can take and do something special with. It's something that you can do that is going to help other people. Being adaptive and using your skills that you have, your discipline and who you are, the things you learn from change and growth, and working through each moment throughout each day and piecing things together and being aware that everything that you're doing can be pieced together positively within your purpose on your journey. I'm gonna read the quote to you, the message again. Ingenuity, the quality of being clever, original, and inventive, aptness of design or contrivance, skill in devising or combining. That's a lot there to comb through, which is why I like the word. It means so many different things. But one thing that is good about it is that if you could take all of those things that I just read off and put them in a positive light in your life, if you can get that ingenuity coupled with discipline, you really do have some unique tools there to play around with. It just makes you so much more of a flexible, likable person. It goes right along with charisma. It goes right along with civility. It goes along with these things. These are traits that often are not looked at. It's just a little icing on the cake. It's just that little bit of you're doing the extra positive thing that most people don't do. You are not staying in one place and saying, this is good enough. I'm just going to keep doing it over and over and over and over and over again. And then I wonder why I'm so miserable. Ingenuity is about not being monotonous. It's about adding in a little bit of flavor here and there, a little bit of spice here and there, pushing yourself a little bit more each day. It's all about being creative with your vision. What do you really want to do in life? And if you've tried and you failed, what creative way can you do to actually get the job done? That was something I had to learn the hard way. I kept waiting for something to happen to me before I woke up and started making things happen. I realized, no, you're going to have to navigate this thing through ingenuity. You're going to have to piece this thing together. You're going to have to do it moment by moment, day by day, year by year. You're not going to get to the middle of May in a year and have nothing to show for it for the whole year. That's going to stop. We're going to push the envelope. I had to tell myself that over and over and over and over again. And now I don't even think about it. Every day, without even thinking about it, I'm adding in levels of ingenuity with everything that I do. Because it helps. And you won't know it until you try it. Pledge with me. I am the strongest person I know. I am alive for a reason. I pledge to stand on my values. I pledge to set and reinforce healthy boundaries. I pledge to keep pushing forward. I am not a victim. I am not without purpose. I pledge to continue to create the life I want. I pledge to grow beyond my current self. I pledge to commit to myself unconditionally, because I am the strongest person I know. I will always be the strongest person I know. I pledge to continue to create, and if need be, recreate the blueprint of my life. I pledge to accept and face any challenge and obstacle that comes my way, because I am the strongest person I know. I pledge I will remain who I am, here and now, and going forward, because I am the strongest person I know. This is your day. You are here now. These are your moments. You own them. You are brave, bold, powerful. You do believe in yourself. You know you have more in the tank. You know the glass is half full. There's still more room for improvement. There is no end. Believe, believe, believe in yourself. Trust yourself. Trust that you can do whatever it takes to accomplish whatever you want from life. You don't procrastinate. You don't embellish. You don't lie. You are true to yourself always. Knowledge is in your mind. Peace is in your heart. Balance is in your body. Purpose is in your soul. You are greatness. The sky is not the limit. You have purpose, fulfilling, intentful purpose. You are here for a reason. You are unique. You are self-love, self-discipline, self-respect, self-control. You have self-awareness. You are joy, peace, and happiness. You are freedom, and yet connected to every person, place, and thing in the universe. And if no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Salute to you all. The brave never fall. Learn, laugh, and level up.